Today our topic is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. We often hear these two words, but do we really understand what they mean and how they are different? Knowledge and wisdom are not the same, though they are connected. Knowledge is about facts, information, and skills. It is what we learn from books, schools, or experiences. Wisdom, on the other hand, is deeper. It is about understanding life, making good choices, and using knowledge in the right way. You can have a lot of knowledge, but still lack wisdom. For example, someone might know everything about cars, but if they drive recklessly, we would say they are not wise. Wisdom is about how you use what you know. Let's explore this idea more deeply. Knowledge is like having a toolbox. Inside the toolbox, you have many tools: a hammer, a screwdriver, a wrench. These tools are useful, but they are just objects until you use them. Knowledge is the same. You can memorize facts, learn theories, or collect information. But if you don't use it properly, it doesn't help much. For example, you might know all the rules of a game, but if you don't know how to play well, you won't win. Knowledge is important, but it is not enough on its own. You need to know how to apply it. This is where wisdom comes in. Wisdom is like knowing which tool to use and when to use it. It is about making good decisions, solving problems, and understanding the bigger picture. Think about a doctor. A doctor spends many years studying medicine. They learn about the human body, diseases, and treatments. This is knowledge. But when a patient comes to them, the doctor must decide what is best for that person. They need to consider the patient's unique situation, their feelings, and their needs. This is wisdom. A wise doctor doesn't just follow a textbook. They use their knowledge in a way that helps the patient. Wisdom is about seeing beyond the facts. It is about understanding people, situations, and life itself. Another example is history. We can learn a lot from history. We can study wars, revolutions, and great leaders. This is knowledge. But wisdom is learning from history so we don't repeat the same mistakes. A wise person looks at the past and thinks, how can I do better? How can I make the world a better place? Wisdom is about learning lessons and applying them to our lives. It is not just knowing what happened, but understanding why it happened and what it means for us today. Now, let's talk about how we can gain wisdom. Wisdom doesn't come from books alone. It comes from experience, reflection, and understanding. To become wise, we need to be open-minded. We need to listen to others, especially those who are different from us. We need to learn from our mistakes and not be afraid to admit when we are wrong. Wisdom also comes from patience. Life is full of challenges, and sometimes we need to wait and think before we act. A wise person doesn't rush into decisions. They take their time and consider all the options. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, teaches us a lot about wisdom. The Stoics believed that wisdom is the greatest virtue. They said that to live a good life, we must understand what is in our control and what is not. We cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we react. This is wisdom. For example, if it rains on the day of your picnic, you can't control the weather, but you can control your attitude. You can choose to be upset, or you can choose to enjoy the rain and find another way to have fun. Wisdom is about focusing on what you can change and letting go of what you cannot. The Stoics also believed in living in harmony with nature. This means accepting life as it is, not as we wish it to be. Wisdom is about seeing reality clearly and not being blinded by our desires or fears. It is about being honest with ourselves and others. A wise person doesn't chase after things that don't matter. They focus on what is truly important, like kindness, honesty, and love. Now, let's think about how knowledge and wisdom work together. Knowledge is the foundation, but wisdom is the building. You need both to create something strong and lasting. Imagine you want to build a house. You need to know how to use tools, how to measure, and how to follow plans. This is knowledge. But you also need to decide where to build the house, what materials to use, and how to design it so it is safe and comfortable. This is wisdom. Knowledge tells you how to do something, but wisdom tells you why and when to do it. In our modern world, we have access to more knowledge than ever before. With the internet, we can learn about almost anything in seconds. But this doesn't mean we are wiser. In fact, having too much information can sometimes make it harder to think clearly. We need wisdom to sort through all the information and decide what is important. We need wisdom to know what to believe and what to ignore. Without wisdom, knowledge can be overwhelming or even dangerous. For example, someone might know how to build a bomb, but without wisdom, they could use that knowledge to harm others. So, how can we grow in wisdom? One way is to practice mindfulness. This means paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and actions. When we are mindful, we can see things more clearly. We can notice when we are being selfish, angry, or afraid. We can learn to respond instead of react. Another way to grow in wisdom is to seek out mentors. A mentor is someone who is wiser than us and can guide us. They can help us see things from a different perspective and give us advice based on their experience. Reading great books can also help us gain wisdom. Books like the Bible, the Tao Te Ching, or the works of philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Marcus Aurelius are full of wisdom. These books teach us about life, love, and the human condition. They help us think deeply and reflect on our own lives. But reading alone is not enough. We need to apply what we learn. Wisdom is not just about knowing something, but about living it. Finally, let's talk about the role of failure in gaining wisdom. We often think of failure as something bad, but it can be one of our greatest teachers. When we fail, we learn what doesn't work. We learn about our limits and our strengths. Failure teaches us humility and resilience. A wise person doesn't fear failure. They see it as a chance to grow. For example, Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before he invented the light bulb. But he didn't see those failures as the end. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This is the attitude of a wise person. They keep going, no matter what. In conclusion, knowledge and wisdom are both important, but they are not the same. Knowledge is about learning facts and skills, while wisdom is about understanding life and making good choices. To gain wisdom, we need to be open-minded, patient, and reflective. We need to learn from our experiences and from others. We need to focus on what is truly important and let go of what we cannot control. Wisdom is not something we are born with. It is something we develop over time, through effort and practice. So, let us strive to be not just knowledgeable, but also wise. Let us use our knowledge to make the world a better place, and let us seek wisdom to live a good and meaningful life.